Hi guys, it's Shannon. I just wanted to jump on this evening and get this message off to you quickly. So if you're hearing this, if you're tuning in live, feel free to say hello. And I just want you to know that this message came in earlier today and it is meant for you to hear tonight. So just go ahead and take a nice deep breath. We're going to breathe into the heart and soul, getting out of the analytical mind, getting out of the busyness, getting out of the noise of the world, and just going within. Okay, so take a nice deep breath and go within to your heart and soul. Okay, so just a couple of nice deep breaths, moving within your being. Setting the noise of the world aside, setting your day aside, and just tuning in to hear the message that you are meant to receive today. And this message is all about following the signs, following the nudges, and most definitely following your heart. So all of that will never, ever, ever lead you astray. The problem is that so many of us don't know how to do that. I remember when I first started on my spiritual path and I was hearing all of these things like follow your heart, follow your joy, follow your bliss. And it was so annoying to me because I didn't know the how to. There was no how to in those big sayings, right? So easy to say. And like, how do we implement that? And so what I want to tell you tonight is that it is crucial to go within and be quiet and be still and allow your mind to start focusing through things like guided meditation and other practices that you can do that will help to focus the mind so that you know and are aware and are in control of your mind. And what that does over time is it starts to slow down the monkey mind and it starts to release actually the monkey mind and the overthinking, okay? But it's a practice that you have to keep tapping into, okay? So that is part of it, is that we need to start focusing the mind. And that was a very real part of my journey when I started out with guided meditation and really understanding what was going on within my mind, okay? So focusing the mind, understanding that we are the ones that are in control of our mind, okay? And shifting it to be in alignment with what we truly desire in this life, which is like a whole other workshop book, probably. Okay. But tonight, what we're talking about is the signs and the messages that are delivered to us. And so here's what I know for sure. After all this time, after the last 11 years, is that when we are in the flow, when we are in the sync of the universe, when we are flowing in our life and opening up to receive all that is being delivered to us, and especially paying attention to the nudges and the messages that are constantly being delivered, because it's a constant communication, right? And then following through in action with those nudges, with the messages that we are receiving, that's where the magic of life happens. And I want to remind you of that tonight, because I know that so many of us have been in resistance lately. It's been sweeping through the collective, swiping through the collective, whatever you want to say, sweeping through the collective, and resistance has been something that we've all been encountering. And so the clear message that I kept getting was the surrender, the allowing, and the flow. To surrender, to allow, to flow. Okay. And this is, again, a practice. It doesn't just happen, because if you've been caught in the busy, if you've been caught in the noise of the world, if you think that in order to be successful here, you have to be really noisy and really loud, that's bullshit. I'm just going to tell you that right now, because I see that happening so much. I think at one point in my journey, in my 20s, I thought that that's how things had to be, right? And we see that happening so much in the world, and it's absolutely not true. It's the exact opposite of that. It's tuning within and figuring out and navigating your way through what is truly your heart's desire, what is truly in alignment for you. And in order to do that, you have got to ignore the outside voices. You've got to let the outside voices go in one ear and out the other, because they do not matter. Got it? And here's the other thing, is that you have got to be okay in the silence. You've got to be okay being still and letting the noise of the world fall away so that you can start tuning in within. And as you practice that, because this is a practice, that's why we call it spiritual practice or mindfulness practice, right? Then when you're out in the world, you bring that presence with you everywhere you go. So that when you get the nudge to show up to a certain place, when you get the nudge to relay a message to someone, you follow through with that because you are present in the moment. You are not distracted on your phone. You are not distracted in your mind, living in the past, right? Running through a past situation, overanalyzing something that's happening in the present. You're not projecting into the future, right? You're present and aware as you're out in the world so that you can see the messages that are meant for you, so that you can overhear the conversations that you're meant to overhear, so that you can understand how life is speaking to you, how the universe is delivering that, okay? And it happens in so many different ways. And one of those ways is how our body responds, okay? That internal knowing, without a doubt. So I have so many examples of this. As a matter of fact, this is primarily how I've wanted and intended to live my life the last 11 years. And when I haven't, when I've been in resistance, when I've been trying to figure it all out in my head, when I've been listening to outside voices or thinking, oh, I better just take this job, J-O-B, to make some quick cash, right? And then I stay in it for like the next year and a half or 2 years, being not my highest self, not passionate about what I'm doing, and just stuck in the loop, right? Going through the motions and the hamster wheel, okay? And my tendency has been to stay in things too long. So I just want to say that, right? And as we go on, we start to understand when something's out of alignment and when we can release it from our life rather than holding on to it, rather than staying in it for too long. Got it? And that's what we learn through this process. That's what we navigate our way to if we're really tuning in within. Okay? So listening to the signals that your body will give you. So when I left Denver, went to Minnesota, and then at one point I was looking for a new base, right? And all I said was somewhere west of Denver. That was it. That's all I knew within myself, somewhere west of Denver, okay? And in the process of traveling and being on the road, I came across Scottsdale because I had a friend who was living here and I stayed with him for a while, okay? And the longer I stayed in Scottsdale, which was like 12 days the first time, and I knew because of how my body was responding, because of the vibration that I felt here and the heightened energy that I felt here. And within every cell of my being, I knew that this place was my next base. But I didn't make a decision until I knew 100%, until I got those signals and that overall knowing coming from within. Okay. And as we trust and use our intuition more and more, it's going to keep signaling to us. So intuition is definitely a muscle. It's definitely a practice. And so as we tune in more and more, we're going to understand how our body signals to us. Okay. We're going to understand what we feel when something is in complete alignment, and vice versa, what we feel when something is not in complete alignment. And it's not just in the moment, because a lot of things feel really good in the moment. It's the after effect as well. It has to be in alignment during and after, right? So every time I know that Scottsdale is still in alignment is because when I travel, I can't wait to get back here. When I was driving back from Denver and I saw the sign that said Phoenix as I was exiting Flagstaff and I saw Phoenix, every cell in my body ignited. That was 2 weeks ago. I've been here 9 months essentially. And so I'm still having those responses within that say where you're living and where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. Got it? So you have to be paying attention. That's what this message is for tonight, is to be paying attention to what's going on within, to the messages that are coming, to the signs that are coming. And they're delivered in so many different ways. It can be through someone saying something and you hearing that 2 or 3 times. It's always an alert that that's a message. It can be through like a billboard or a magazine or something that stands out to you, a license plate that's in front of you, all of those things. But I'm not necessarily getting into all the ways in which that communication happens tonight, but just know that once you start opening up to that, you'll start seeing it everywhere out in the world because your life is always speaking to you. And going within to our heart and opening up the communication so that we can hear the whispers of our heart is absolutely crucial. And you know when I hear the whispers of my heart? It's in the early morning hours. It's when I wake up from sleep and there's some information right there for me and I start writing and I start journaling, okay? And I go within and I say, and I ask myself, what are my truest heart's desires? I ask that. And then as I've navigated all these different situations, I've become really clear about what that is, right? And as we go through life, that is gonna change, as we know, right? This journey is ever expansive and ever unfolding. Okay? And if you lean in, fully lean into life, what you're going to experience is an incredible journey. What you're going to experience is all the magic without having to put yourself in this tight little box because this is how things should look. This is what success looks like in the suburbs. This is what success looks like for my family. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is what it looks like for you. Okay? This is your life. This is your journey. And when you fully lean in, what you are going to experience is all these life experiences that are trying to be delivered from you and delivered to you, from you, probably too, and to you. And we've got to be getting out of our own way. Okay, so when resistance comes in, how quick can you get back home to the surrender? How quick can you get back home to the allowing? How quick can you take a moment and say, what is best in alignment for my being at this time? Because when we're resisting life. We're resisting what our heart and soul is desiring at that time. And we're doing what someone else wants, or we're doing what we think we should be doing. Okay? And that's where resistance comes in because we're out of the flow of what our being and what our heart and what our soul is truly desiring. Got it? And so when you're there, it is to take time to go within and take time to come back home to yourself and take time to say, what does my heart, my soul truly desire? And it's also about tapping into your being and saying, what's best for my body? What is best for my mind? What would best serve my entire being on this day? Okay? And it doesn't mean that we don't have schedules and that we don't have jobs to show up to, all of that. But you can always be in the flow and always be receiving the messages and always be picking up on that communication that is being delivered to you. Okay? So in looking out for the synchronicities, right? The synchronicities, there's no such thing as coincidences, right? It's all synchronistic, divine alignment that is happening, that is directing you if you allow it to be. Okay? But that's the thing, is that you have to allow that in your life. And you have to let go of the should-haves or the I have to's or the I should be doing, right? And you have to stop putting yourself in a box so that you can open up to all these experiences and all the possibilities that are trying to be delivered to you. And so it's so important for us to get out of our own way, to stop thinking in our head that we have to have it all figured out. Because what I know for sure is through the surrender and the allowing, that will reveal itself and continue to unfold itself to us. Life will continue to unfold through us as we continue to step into and be okay with stepping into the unknown, because that's where all the magic lives. Okay? And so many times we're sitting here thinking that we're supposed to have it all figured out. Got it? It's not how this works. Unless you want to stay in a box your whole life. But I know that many of you do not want that. And that's who I'm speaking to, because that has not been my journey the last 11 years. And that journey has been way more impactful than the journey in my 20s, where I was living someone else's life. It was not a life meant for me. And I kept trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and it definitely wasn't working. And I definitely was not full of joy or bliss or peace or contentment within myself, because it felt so out of alignment for my being. And that's when I had to choose to do things differently and to follow my heart and to follow the signs and to take the action that would lead me deeper into a spiritual path, which then started opening doorways that I never could have imagined and took me on a whole different trajectory in my life, right? And so we all get to choose. We all get to choose. And I just want to remind you that how important it is to follow the signs, to follow the nudges, to open up to that. And if you don't know at all what I'm talking about, if you don't know how to access your intuition, if you don't think you're getting nudges, or you don't know what that is, you don't know how to follow the nudges, you don't know how to access the communication from your heart and soul, please reach out to me, because this is the work that I do with my clients. This is the stuff that I step people through in my online programs, okay? So I just want you to know that. And I want you to know that we are being called, right, to go deeper into our practice so that we can pick up on what's being delivered to us as we're out in the world, okay? And those nudges, those messages, that guidance, okay, that's coming from your highest self, that's coming from your angels, that's coming from your guide, that's coming from the spiritual realm. That stuff will get you further than the analytical mind ever will. And I know that for sure. Much love, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Comment question below and I will come back on and answer those. Have a wonderful evening.